Thank you for joining us at Adobe Live with me, your host, Pixie Pugh, and this time we're joined by Mike, aka Eye Attraction. Mike, are you ready to pose, get those angles, and show us your know-how with Photoshop?
Hey guys, yes, I'm so ready. I know a lot of people been asking me about like some techniques about editing and stuff like that, so I'm excited to finally be able to share.
Yes, but we're going to have to hold on to that excitement because we've got a little bit of things to talk about first. For the people watching, don't forget to subscribe to our channel over here and go over to Instagram, go and check out at Adobe Live. That way you can stay up to date with the latest streams, be involved with the community, and so much more. But I think we're ready to learn a little bit more about eye attraction. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and show us a little bit what you're going to be doing today?
Okay, so my name is Michael Nyembo. I'm born and raised in Switzerland, and I work mainly in Europe and LA for the moment. I started photography in, I'll say, 2014. At first, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. If I wanted to do like, you know, sports photography, fashion photography, beauty photography. I just sort of like fell into it, and then I started liking it, and then took me where I am right now. And today I'll teach people how to retouch a fashion photograph. And
Oh, I was muted. Okay, what I was saying was considering the world that we're in right now, social media is really high. This is the kind of stuff that we really need to know in this day and age. So I'm really excited to learn all about it. And I know you've got your portfolio in the background. Please tell us a little bit about how you plan your shots before we jump into the main act.
all right, so for example, like this one is like actually one of my most famous picture, I would say, on the internet. So basically like this photo shoot, it's actually three models that I know. Called them up. I was like, hey guys, I have this one idea that I have in mind. I will not be able to explain you in pictures. I will have actually like to do it and show you from the camera because I didn't see anything like that yet. So they were like, okay, cool. They came. We actually talked like for 30 minutes and shot like for 30 minutes, which was an hour shoot. And then the result came out like this. And it was just amazing because it was a project with like a group of friends, and
Oh, while your
I like the
mouse is
reaction.
hovered on it, I don't think it's kind of
Oh,
made it look a bit
sorry.
opaque. There we go. Oh, look at the colors. Please continue.
Yeah. And for example, this one, it was like a model in LA. We've been talking for a minute because sometimes I was in town and she was in town, and sometimes I was out of town and she was in town. And this time of the year, we were both in town, and I was like, yo, I have this one look because she has like a high top, and I really liked it. And I was like, yo, I have this one look that I want to do. Sort of like way back, like in the 80s type of vibe, 70s type of vibe, but
That
like
vibe
make it
really
like
came through.
more fashionable like for nowadays. And then she was like, all right, cool. And then gotta gather my team, and we went to the streets and we shot, and this is the result.
Absolutely gorgeous. We've got beautiful in the chat. Paloma's talking about the model on the other end in red. I know it's absolutely stunning, which I think means that we're all really excited to see what you're going to show us today, because I think we're going to have a lot of questions in the chat over this, how you pose your models, how you frame your work. Don't forget, chat, if you have any questions, pop a message down. I will get it back to EA.
Cool. And so this is like, for example, like my fashion pictures. So you guys can check real quick. I'm not gonna stay here too long. You can see different type of colors, poses, angles, perspectives. Because I really love actually to play with perspective. Because before going into photography, I was actually aiming to go to architecture school to become an architect. And because I couldn't go there, so I guess I compensated with photography.
And it sounds like you've kind of transferred one love into the other.
Yeah. And this is my beauty. So where you can really see the skin texture. As you can see, it's as you can see, it's Photoshop, but it's not overdone. Like for example, you still see the pores of the skin and stuff like that. And I'll show you guys later how to keep the texture, because most of the time what I notice on photographs nowadays is, yeah, the skin color smooth, flawless, but then the texture is not there sometimes. So it looks more like a puppet. Some people care, some people don't, but like the higher end you work in the industry, the more they're gonna ask you like less and less and less overlooked, overdone, photoshopped pictures.
Absolutely gorgeous. Because I know what you mean, especially if you end up looking in a magazine and then you're like, oh, it's a little bit like a Barbie doll kind of. But actually being able to see the pores is still human.
Yeah, even
Now we
sometimes
do have a
scars.
couple of your first picture in Photoshop, and let us see how you start off the process we'll be learning today.
Yeah,
And the
okay.
question, while EA does that, Pax just jumped in and said, those are amazing. Pax's question was, the photo with the three guys, was that a physical location with those colors? Did you edit much?
Actually, I think it's like one of the most over Photoshop picture I ever did, because it looks like it's outdoor, but it was actually shot in my studio.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that was before the AI generating help. So I had to like play around, cut, add some stuff, remove some stuff, play with the shadows to make sure that it looks like the sun is hitting at the right spot.
That's incredible. It's the skills where
Yeah.
we're vicariously absorbing the skills. Uma just said beautiful photos and people.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So talk us through what's going on here. We've got our Photoshop open, we've got our image. What do we do once we've begun?
Okay. So first of all, what I always do before I edit a picture is I take maybe like 5, 6 minutes. I observe the picture. I'm like, okay, what I don't like about this picture that I want to change. I'm just gonna grab real quick a tool right there and pen. Let me put red so you guys can really see. So because we're gonna go through all this together. So for example, I see that my sensor was not really clean. So you see there's, okay, let me go up, bone brush. Okay, there we go. You see
And so
right
this is just
here.
on a new layer.
Yeah, hold on. Uh,
And can you talk me through what you're looking for right now?
something is not working on my screen, but I'm trying to figure out like why is it not working on my screen?
We're on the eraser brush at the moment.
Oh, okay, there. Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
Long
I've
day,
been
long
there
day.
before. I've
Long
been
day, long
there.
day. Okay, all right, here we're back. All right. So for example, here on the picture, you see there's a dot. That's my sensor. It was not really that clean on that day.
Right.
So I will have to remove this. Then if you zoom in, you see on the floor, there's stuff on the floor. So of course, I'm gonna remove this, that. So basically what I'm saying is like I will look at what I don't like about the picture and what I might change. Even like for example, towards the end, the afro, maybe I will make it more round
Right.
to have more of a, round fro
That
instead of
volume
a,
going.
yeah. Then it's a pretty good picture, but I feel like it's kind of simple, and I'll show you guys later on towards the end with the AI how you can make it cooler. All right, so let's start.
Oh,
We go,
EA, just before you
yeah.
begin, seems like another fan has appeared. Redizzle just said, let's go with Mike.
All right. I hope you guys are as much excited as that person. All right. So, I'm gonna be talking first, like the first technique that I use when I edit a photo is dodge and burn. So basically dodge and burn, dodge, which is light, burn is dark. So what you're basically doing is putting more light and more shadows in the areas that you wish to either brighten or darken. And why that technique is actually good is because you actually don't remove any texture. So you're sure that your picture will have the texture that it had all in the beginning. So if anybody has questions about that, because I know it can be confusing, let me know. And in order to start that, there's different ways to get to that. But for me, how I started, I learned it this way. So you go on levels. This is going to be for dodge. Then you brighten up. As you can see, like on the picture is getting brightened. Then you do command I, which will invert. And you can rename this dodge. Then you do the same thing, but this
Reverb
time.
Mike just said I was digging the fro.
Sorry?
Reverb Mike just said I was digging the fro.
Oh.
Don't worry, you're going to get a whole lot more of that fro based on what EA mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Then you go here on the shadows and you darken it. It's about right. Command I. And then you group. Okay, let me change the name. Sorry, burn.
Well, you know, labeling your layers is very important, especially when you end up with so many. So I think this is it's good for us to see this. So
Yeah.
Got to learn the right way.
Trust me, at some point, sometimes you get lost because you end up with like 20, 40 layers, and this is no joke. Then you group them, and you can name that DNG. Or DNB. Sorry.
Oh, so when you group it, are you still able to, does it still affect the earlier picture, even though you've grouped?
No, because here we have like layer mask, but they're hidden. They're black. So basically like you cannot see them. And then in order like to activate them, you actually take the brush, you make sure that you have a white brush on. Because I like to control everything that I do on my picture, I usually have opacity on 100 and flow on 1. And for example, let's say you want to get rid of this eye bag right here. You will go on dodge, and then bit by bit, you're going to start adding light. I'm doing it really quickly, but still properly so you guys can see the difference. Okay.
It does allow us to see that it's more of a labor of love process rather than a, oh, okay. Yeah. It's like, no, you got to.
Yeah. To be honest, to be a retoucher, you have to be patient because this power right here is actually like what takes the most time. So for example, if I activate, disactivate. So right now it's disactivated. And when I do it, as you can see, this part right here got light in and the eye bag is disappearing slowly but surely.
So less is more in this situation.
Yeah. For example, for this case, what I'm about to do is just to do a little bit more, not too much, because like I said, like we still won't have our picture look basically realistic. Okay.
While we are doing that touch up, Redizzle, bigging EA up a little bit more. Yeza, excited to see this. Mike is one of the best retouchers in the world. Let's go, eye attraction. When I tell you your fans are fanning, we love it. Also, Dope Gasm just said, as a question, I always have issues with the hair and flyaways, especially when selecting the anti-aliasing to remove background. Any pointers?
Usually what I do, if I face that kind of situation, I will literally just use the stamp tool and do copy paste and put a mask on it, so then I can control how much of the hair I want, to be showing again and not. if it makes sense.
Will we be seeing a bit of that today? Because I think that will definitely add to
Yeah, I
your
can add that.
answer.
Yeah, I can add that to it. Like, no problem. I can add that.
Thank
Um,
you.
all right. So, like I was saying, I'll leave it like that. I'll do a little bit here.
Dope just said, I love my dodge and burn actions, makes the process a little quicker. Oh, speaking of actions, do you use actions in your process, or is it more of a case by case basis as each picture would be different?
I do use actions. Actually, I have a plugin which will actually make your workflow go way faster. That's what I've been using like ever since. Is right here. But I always like to teach the basics because if you don't understand what's going on here, you will not know how to use it.
Right. The importance of understanding the foundation before you do the other stuff, because as soon as you can't, let's say
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're in a place and the plugin isn't there and you don't know how to do it naturally, you'll be out of luck.
Exactly. Do you guys use for the people who's watching right now, do you guys use actions? And if yes, for what?
Dementia just jumped in, said, "Hey fam, let's go." Actually, I'm going to answer your question, EA. I use actions, but I found that it's mainly been for, let's say I have a general kind of picture
Mm-hmm.
and I tend to do it via levels. So normally something to make the colors pop while hardening the outlines. It's normally the kind of actions I tend to keep photography wise. I'm definitely a layman in this field.
Okay. Okay. Well, if it helps your workflow, right?
The
Does it
kind of
like
action
does it help like your workflow or
it does. Normally, see, this is why I'm really interested in your process, because you haven't duplicated your starting layer. You're literally doing all of your touch ups in a grouped, so it's nice and clean. You're literally doing all your touch ups in a separate layer. And the way that I had
yeah.
tried to do what you're showing us so simply was normally by duplicating the original one, doing a lot of craziness to it, and then like erasing some parts. So it'd be like, okay, I've got the unsaturated one in the back. I got this hyper one here, just a little bit there. I wasn't even using the dodge or the burn at all. So uh,
Trust
this
me,
is
this technique, most of the retouchers are using it. Um, but I'll show you later how I do like my special touches to have the skin very crisp and clean, so people will understand.
Rihanna Sony just said, no, I don't use action much. Also depends on the picture. Right. So this is one of the questions that I had earlier was, okay, well, would the actions kind of, would they really be able to be used based on the picture? Because right now this picture is black and white. If you did have a set of actions for black and white only, maybe that would be
Mm-hmm.
great, but then that would depend on having the same shadow in the same place. And so this is where it's interesting.
All right. So I feel for this picture and for this person, I did enough dodge and burn. So I will show you the before, after. Not it looks like I didn't do much, but I feel like that will be the limit of how much I will edit this kind of photo.
Very subtle.
Okay, now let me tell you my second part of my editing technique. It's called frequency. Sorry, it's called frequency separation. So basically, what it means is separating the texture and the color. So basically, what it means is like all the scars, pimples, what else? Tiny hair, um, even lashes. You'll be using the texture layer to remove that and correct that. And when it comes to like skin color, background color, um, anything that has to do with color, you'll use the color layer.
Okay.
And if somebody has questions, because trust me, I'm saying all those things because when I started, I knew what was doing what, but I had a hard time explaining it, or even had a hard time understanding it. Because I'm better at watching and learning than just reading something and try to duplicate it.
Right.
So, like I said, if you guys have any questions so far, please feel free, and I will answer your question.
Regarding your question to the chat, EA, Dope
Mm-hmm.
was saying, I have actions for D and B frequency separation to start it. Clean teeth and eyes, 5% tint, sharpening, and mass. Oh, I see, I see. Mm-mm-mm. So
Okay.
yeah, it seems like Dope actually uses quite a lot. It makes sense for the teeth, but then
Yeah,
wouldn't that do the whole picture?
actions are good. Like if it helps like your speed, your workflow and your speed in terms of retouching photos. Because I know before using plugins for a beauty photo, I used to take like 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, which is a little bit quite long for one picture. So imagine like if you have to deliver like 10 pictures back in 3 days, it will be a lot of work. So with plugins, it helps speeding up your workflow and yeah.
Right. So what's
All
the
right.
next part we're moving on to?
So what I do usually, I merge all the layers. So I will do Command Option Shift E, and as you can see, so it created a new layer, which is actually the fusion of this layer right here and that layer right there.
I didn't know there was a shortcut for that. So all this time I've been duplicating everything and then squashing it down. Okay, cool. I've learned something new. Thank you.
Yeah, trust me, I learn every day. Like sometimes I discover like shortcuts and I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was a shortcut for that. Okay, so this part right here, what would you need to do is duplicate the layer number 1 2 times. 1, 2. You can deactivate the background layer. And the top layer right here, right? So on this layer right there, this is gonna be your colored layer, if I can say it like that. So you have to go on filter, on blur, Gaussian blur, and the technique, which is why I think a lot of people are using a lot of texture, is so basically what you're looking here on this square is a zoom on your picture and is for to set up the radius. Usually what I do is like let me move that out of the way. You need still to see details, but not that much, but not also like all smooth and out. So I guess for this picture, as you can see, I'm still looking to see. Yeah, that looks about right. Yeah, let's do 4. I'll do 4. And then I'll lay in this layer color tone.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Domenica said, what's your favorite part about retouching?
It's able to be yeah, able to be it's like sometimes I can create something that nobody saw it. Like even though the photograph was there, but like I saw further than that, but I was not able to explain it, or sometimes it's not like um you're not just able to do it because of the location. What on Photoshop, what I retouch, I'm able to do mainly anything. I can create my own universe. But really what I love about it is like seeing the before after. That really cheers me up. I'm like, yeah, okay, I did that.
The freedom of seeing your creativity come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. So you can now activate the top layer, which we're gonna call texture. So for this,
Also,
yep.
Everybody else was very excited about the cheat you just told us on how to duplicate and merge in one go. That that seemed
Oh,
to break.
really?
Yeah, that was something else. And Sims Production just jumped in to say, not only talented and hardworking, but also humble. Cheers for sharing your knowledge. Let's go, eye attraction.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to image. You're going to look for apply image. And what it's going to do is going to turn your, so most of the time, it will not be on this blending option. Most of the time, it's going to be on normal. And you have to make sure that you go look for subtract, scale 2, and offset 128. If you wonder why 2, because most of the time when you do, let me see. Okay, actually 1 works too, but I think 3 will not work.
Patrick said I used to duplicate everything first,
Yeah.
then merge. Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, like Photoshop will stop you to use, they will say like you need to use a number between 1 and 2.
Right.
And then you say, okay. And then here on the blending option on the layers, you go on linear light and you have your texture layer. If you still don't see actually what I did, let me show you a little bit when I zoom in. So if I deactivate this layer, as you can
Oh,
see, this one is the blurry one, which will only deal with texture with color. So as you can see, there's not really texture, but there is still some. And this one is the one that brings back all the texture.
hey.
And then because I don't really like touching the, let's say, the original layer, what I usually do is like I put a new layer, like an empty layer. And then from here, I go on the tools and I use the stem tool, not the, sorry, healing tool. And here, what I'm about to do is just like make sure that the colors are flowing like smoothly and merging with each other like properly. So usually this yeah, this process usually takes me 15-20 minutes depending on how bad the picture is or how difficult the picture is, if I can say it like that.
Right. What would make it, what do you consider would make it a hard picture or a tricky picture?
For example, like freckles, people with freckles, it's actually hard to edit to really have the skin, the freckles showing, and not that it looks like too puppet. It's really challenging because as you can see, like I'm using the tool not almost everywhere, but I can use it freely compared to like somebody with freckle. I will have literally to like
I'll go
restrict
around.
my stroke zone.
And are you using a pen tablet while you're doing this?
Yeah, that is also something that I recommend to everybody who's doing who's retouching pictures or doing post production. A graphic tablet will definitely help you be more precise, and I feel it's more comfortable too.
Back on the action note, Date was just saying, yes, when it's a lot of pictures, I drag the action layer next to the picture, tweak a couple of things. The first bit takes 2 hours, and then the other ones only take 5 minutes based on the layout or the setup that they've done beforehand. So it's definitely the bigging up of having plugins and using your actions.
Yeah. So let me show you guys what I did so far. I don't know if you guys can already see it, but as you can
Right?
see, I merged the colors, the different scale of grays together smoothly. It's not done properly everywhere though, but we're gonna get to there. It's just like I wanted to show you what I did. And like I said, try not to overdo it. So every time, as you can see, sometimes I'm going back, I'm zooming in, I'm deactivating, reactivating the layer because I always want to check if it's overdone or not.
Right. And I have a question about the healing brush. Is it a little
Hmm.
bit like the stamp tool where you have to hold a keyboard button down first to use it? Or is it?
Yeah. So basically, what I'm doing every time is I'm pressing Option, targeting the source, removing my finger from the button, and then stroke it. So it's like I don't know. Do you guys see me actually?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We can see
All right, cool. So basically the motion that I'm doing is okay. So I'm pressing this button right here to select, and then when I'm done selecting, I'm removing it and then I'm stroking. So every time I'm doing basically this.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Think it's always
Okay.
nice to see how it's done because I realize sometimes, especially when people are new to something, they'll click the tool and they might not keep their mouse hovered. You know, the toolbar now, if you hover over it, it's like, oh yeah, I do this and this is what you need to push. Sometimes people don't look at it anymore. So being able to see how it's done is awesome. So thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, so for the face, I will not go further than that because I feel like it looks still pretty realistic. To make sure that I don't go overboard, let me group that. So the texture, the layer in between, and the color tone. And
Already. It's just evening out the lighting.
yeah. Oh, actually, I forgot one thing. I think this one needs to go there too. Yeah, there you go. Very cool. Then grab my pen. When it comes
Oh,
to this right here, I will use the stem tool. I need to make sure that it's on current and not current and below. Let me show you why. If you do current and below and you try to, I don't know, do this, it will give you a huge highlighted path. And we don't
oh,
want that because it's going to take the information on all the layers below and not only like this one. And this one is the texture one. That's the one that we want. So you do the current one, you stroke a little bit. And as you notice, every time that I try to remove something, I'm always trying to like source it out, not too far from the place that you targeted. So let's say if I want to remove this, I will target like a place around here, stroking it a little bit, going back to the layer number 2, going back on a healing brush, and that I'm gone.
oh,
And the texture
okay.
is not removed. That's what I meant by colors and texture. And then same thing for all this little stuff down there. And if you don't see this appearing, it's okay, right? Because what you're doing on this layer right here is just taking the texture somewhere else and placing it over the place that you're trying to correct.
Okay.
Okay, let me show you now. Going back right here. So as
Patrick
you
just
can
said, thank you for being so detailed. Again, this being able to see it up close and see the breakdown is so helpful for those of us that aren't quite there yet.
oh, of course, when I'm teaching something, I really want to teach. I'm not holding anything. Okay, as you can see, it's disappearing. If I zoom in, you see the texture is still there. Let me finish this floor real quick.
And while you're doing that, Christopher just asked, how do you rotate the canvas?
Oh, okay. So basically, there's two ways to do that. First, my tablet got this little round circle here, and when I turn it, it turns my canvas.
Awesome. What's the second way?
Or if you don't have a tablet, there is, I think, is this. No, it's this one right here. Yeah, on the hand tool, you have rotate view tool. You press it, and you can just rotate.
Christopher says, thank you.
Of course. All right. back to our picture.
So on average, when you're working, I realize that you do it in a specific order. You're going to do all the touch-ups first before you move to the next bit. Do you tend to do the human first, or do you work on the environment first? Or does it kind of depend on how you're feeling while you're working?
Exactly that. It really depends on how I'm feeling. Let's say, let's say if the environment is really complicated and I feel like I'll finish first with the model, the person who's on the picture first, I'll focus first on the person and then I'll take care of the environment later. And vice versa. If one day I feel like, okay, I'm actually good, I'm happy, I'm juiced, and I don't feel tired, yeah, why not? I'm gonna do the most complicated part first and finish with the easy part.
Right.
All right.
Redizzle was agreeing with something you had, well, the fact that you're using a pen tablet. They said that the pen tablet is definitely the best tool to have in these situations. Helps with the productivity, probably definitely helps with the pressure sensitivity as you're using 1% flow. So I assume being able to have the pen pressure there must be really helpful.
Yeah, because I feel like retouching is like drawing. And for example, if you're trying to draw with your finger, it's not gonna be as precise if you're trying to draw with a sharp pen, right? So that's the same thing with a tablet and a stylus. You actually like drawing, like it really feels like you're drawing on the picture. That's why like I feel all the retouchers need to have some sort of tablets with them because it's really helpful to be really more precise in your work. As you can see here, I'm removing like a couple stuff on his shirt, using the same stuff, replacing the texture, then correcting the color later.
Now, I noticed that sometimes you use the stamp and the healing brush. Does it matter which layer you use it on? Because I think
Yeah.
I've seen you interchange them.
So on this layer right here, which we can call I don't know, work layer. Let's call it like that. So on this layer right here is where you're gonna be using the healing brush. And you have to make sure also that it's on current and below because you want to work on everything that's below here, but not above. That's why the texture is above, because if you work on everything that's here, you're not gonna touch the texture. That's why like the texture stays the way that it is.
Right.
And this one right here on the texture layer, you use the stamp tool, which will be to literally replace texture where you want it to be replaced in a more precise way.
So right now you're just getting rid of any, not too many, but just the little inconsistencies.
Yeah, right now, like as you can see on his sweater, I guess he had like some stuff on it. I don't know exactly what, but I'm trying to remove it to make it more clean. Let me do a step back so you can see what I'm actually doing. Do you guys see it?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the subtleness, it's the little and often, but what do they say? There's a saying about that. What less is more. There we go. Less is definitely more.
Yeah.
Oh, also, before I forget, for those that have just joined in, we are joined with Mike today, aka I Attraction, who is teaching us how to retouch fashion photography in Photoshop. So you've come to the right place. If you have come halfway through, don't worry, you can re-watch the VOD afterwards. It's definitely a place or a hub full of really, really cool tips and tricks with shortcuts. We've learned a lot of stuff already, and that was only like 6 minutes in. So you're ready for a cool ride. Plus, if you yourself or you know anybody else that you'd also like to have hosted, be a guest on Adobe Live on the Behance page, don't forget to take a little gander above. There'll be a button there so you can do a little recommendation of your own. Otherwise, back to the show.
All right. So in terms of like retouching the skin and the floor. I'm pretty happy with it. His shoes, some people will actually clean it, but because sometimes I just like to leave not like random things on the pictures, but sometimes I like to do stuff like that. And I feel like it doesn't really mess the flow of the picture. It doesn't like hop on your eyes like, hey, look at me, my shoes are dirty. So
Yeah.
we're gonna leave it like that. And we can jump actually on the fro part
Ooh,
since
okay.
the dodge and burn and frequency separation is done. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, once again, Command Option Shift E. It's gonna merge again everything that's below. And since we don't need that anymore, I can erase it. This two and this two. So for the fro part, I always like duplicate the layer that I'm gonna have it as a source. So this one right here, which is layer number 2, I have a copy right here. And I go on filter, liquify. And for those who are not familiar with this tool is amazing. So I'm saying this because let me show you. This tool right here, is like a finger. Let me show you real quick. I'm not gonna stay too long on this, but let me show you a little bit what it does. Pressure, I'll put 100. So it's like having a finger on a wet on a wet paint,
Yeah.
and you just like brushing it around. Let me just erase this. There we go. Usually what I do is I use this one. It's like the push left.
Ooh,
I feel like it's pretty easy to use it. The pressure, I have it between like sometimes 30, sometimes 15. It really depends on how bad I want the picture to be influenced. Like as you can see with 30, you don't really push much because like I said, I like to be in control of my workflow and everything that I'm trying to change with having not too much dramatic, too much, too much. How can I say that?
what dramatism with what
Yeah,
the end
because for example, if I put 100 on this one right here, you see it changes like way too much, even though I'm not even doing much. But if I have it on like before 31, I have an easier way to control it. So it's
does
not
look
that
way more
aggressive.
natural.
Yeah. So let me just adjust a little bit more here. And you just have to try it to have a feel of it, because like it says, it's called push left. So you have to sort of like play around to figure out like how to use it. But yeah. All right. So for the fro, to have it like nicely round, I'm not trying to have it too perfect because it's rare
You
to
don't want to go
see.
back to the 80s that far, huh?
Not even that, but like, have you ever seen somebody really with a perfect afro outside?
The wind, the wind catches it. I had my afro out 2 days ago. Just a little bit of a my hair was like, so yeah, no. No, no.
That's the point, because only like in barbershops and stuff like that you see like a perfect fro when they literally come out the barbershop. But like in real life, it will be rounded, but not like a perfect round,
Yeah.
or depending the shape that you're trying to have. So
Oh, we do have a question for you actually, EA. Um, Dave was wondering, is Mike a photographer as well? I don't think they realized that you weren't just a retoucher, that you
oh
are actually the photographer. They might have missed a little bit at the beginning there.
yeah, let me answer that. So basically, I'm a photographer, videographer, and retoucher. So yeah, I'm a photographer too.
We do love an all-rounder.
Hmm?
We do love an all-rounder.
You have to. You have to, because the more tool you have, the more useful you are to the industry.
No truer words have ever been said.
All right. So to add some final touch, because I'm like, this picture is nice. I would have back then I would have left it like that, but I feel like with like the universe I'm in right now with my photos, I feel like there's something missing. And this is when the AI jumps in.
Oh,
So pay attention. I'm gonna bring the selecting tool directly on the layer, um, the top layer. Let's say, um, okay, let's say we want to have him on a black podium, like a
oh,
round black podium. Okay. So the trick is you have to make sure for it to work like really good, you have to make sure that you give enough detail to it, and you have to make sure that your selecting area is sort of in the shape of the object that you're trying to make appear. Okay. Um, so like I said, here it's gonna ask me what I want to generate. I'll say black round podium. And
it's
then
always
here,
interesting seeing how people actually fit it in their work. I'm fascinated.
and here you're gonna see it's loading a little bit because it's doing what it does. Okay, so as you can see, it took in consideration the lighting and everything. The feet looks funny, right?
Right. Right.
So the good thing about it, like here, let me show you. It gives you like different like variation. There's this one right here, which have like a thicker podium. This one is a little bit more flat. As you can see too, like the shoe change again. Like this one, it would have been okay, but to me, there's still something that I'm like, it looks off. It looks fake. But I
Right.
like this one better. Okay.
Okay.
So as you can see, there's there's a mask here. And as you can see, the AI stuff is in white. So that means that's why it's showing, right? So what I will do, I'm just gonna make sure that this and that is coming back. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the brush, invert, have it the black because we're trying to hide it. And here we can have it like, yeah, 30. It should be enough.
The chat is stunned, by the way. I've got a wow coming out there. Yes. Again, seeing how it's incorporated is everything.
I'm sure there's a quicker way to do what I'm doing right now because I've seen people doing stuff that still don't know how to do it. But as I say, old school always works. So yeah.
Suppose it's a little bit more like you could use the Magic Wand tool, but then it might be too crisp.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm the type of guy, even when I retouch, usually I have music playing. It's like relaxing to me. It's not like a core. It's more like, okay, I'm gonna relax and go retouch some pictures. It's not like, I have to go retouch some pictures.
You're properly in the zone before you actually do your work. I
Yes.
get that.
So I'm just gonna try to do it like quick, so you guys can see.
I do have a question while you're touching up, actually.
Yeah,
Now, you might not really have to do anything extra to this because it seems like the shadows that the AI created technically still match the footwork regardless. But
yeah,
if it didn't, would you maybe use another AI? You know, like how it can make reflections on water. Would you
yeah.
then get it to do it again with your new feet placement and the new podium together, or would you manually make your shadows?
Nah, I will redo it because it's quite complicated to make a good shadow on Photoshop by yourself. But yeah, I will just redo it. After I'm done with this, I'll show you like different stuff that you can make appear or different like stuff that can go wrong with
Okay.
the AI. Yeah, because honestly speaking, I have like photographer friends. Sometimes we always speak about like, retouching pictures and how like the industry is like moving forward. And when I told them like, hey, I tried the AI stuff, I'm like, actually, it's pretty cool because let's say if you're missing something on set, you can, finesse your way out. And so everybody like now thinks it's just easy. You just like select one, you just go on Photoshop, you write AI, and I don't know, some random box gonna come and you just write whatever, and then bam, you have the picture. It's like, nah, it doesn't work like that yet. You actually have to work through your AI or work your AI, if it makes sense.
Making it work for you rather than, just
Yeah,
following whatever it gives you. Like right now, in the fact that you're like, cool, I like this little bit, but I like this bit too. So let me manually tweak this the way I want it to be tweaked.
yeah. So we're almost done, guys. Like I said, I know there is a quicker way to do that, but I'd rather play the safe card. And also, as you notice, the background here is not matching anymore. But we're gonna fix that also.
To be honest, seeing the way that it's done, most of layman's like myself, when we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing something like this and we don't know about all those amazing shortcuts like we just saw in the beginning and all the other jazz, the troubleshooting process, seeing somebody actually work through the troubleshoot or the thing that you would encounter is probably one of the most helpful things that is shown. So seeing it this way is really, really helpful, actually.
Well, I'm glad it is. Okay, so now I have approximately what I sort of wanted. But as you can see, guys, here in the back, it's not matching anymore. Even on the podium, this black is darker than that black, and this gray is lighter than this gray. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna merge again all the layers. So Command Option Shift E. Now we have the fusion and everything that was below. I'm gonna remove this and that. And I also like you notice remove a lot of my layers is like when I merge all the layers together to create like one layer, everything below I don't need it anymore. So I just like erase it so
So
I
you
don't
don't
have a
even keep
list.
a backup? The inner me is shook. You don't keep a backup? There's no group with the backup stuff in there?
To be honest, maybe back like usually, I mean, I have my Photoshop that saves every 10 minutes
Oh,
on background, but with experience, I don't need to have the remaining of the stuff that I already did in the past. I know like for a fact, like I know the process. I don't know if it makes sense.
I do. I like that. So that way you're able to make sure that your layers are clean. The only things that are in there are what you're working on because you know what you're doing by this point. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Something for us to aspire to.
You'll see like as you see, like I'm doing it like so easily, I don't know, so effortlessly, but at first it wasn't like that. It was really, really, really like slow. I had to watch it a lot, read a lot, and also like trying it with experience. Um,
So this is us seeing the upper part of the, what is it, the iceberg? All the hard work at the bottom. Nobody sees that bit. We're seeing the
trust me. Trust me. Okay. So basically the same thing that we did before, linear light. And this time what we're gonna do, so I did that to be able to fix the area that got messed up. So the area right here. So for
oh.
this, I'm gonna use the stem tool on the first layer. I didn't name them, but let me do that right now so I don't get people confused.
Thank you for
Uh,
keeping the labeling going.
Texture, there we go. Let me create the new one there. Bam. Um, Layer.
I do have a slightly random question.
Yep.
When you have a black and white picture like this, if you were, I don't know if this is the kind of workflow that you normally have, but if, I don't know, the client said, cool, I want a pop of color on the wrist, would you still just be doing that in post, or would you grab the color version of this picture, throw it on top, and add different contrast and such and such?
Yeah, so basically what I will do is actually have the picture in color first, and then I will manipulate the colors in Photoshop to have that pop of color that the client desires. Did I answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Awesome.
Because otherwise I was thinking, oh, is it a little bit like, what did they have? You know, the black and white books that you fill in with color? It's like, oh, do you just fill it in with color like you're doing
Color
a
book?
part?
Coloring book?
Yeah. Yeah. You color book it in, or
All right. So for example, like here, let me show you guys. So here, as you can see, I try to use the healing brush on this layer right here. It cleaned it, but you can still see there's like this patch of weird thing happen here, right?
yeah.
So I created a new layer because I don't want to affect my the work that I did here. And then I take the brush tool. I'll have the flow, yeah, on 3. I'll use, I feel like the main color that you see in the back is mostly this one right here. And I'll just go over it. As you can see, slowly but surely, it's filled. And as you can see, like she said in coloring books, I went over edge. So you think, so what I did is like I added a mask. I put it on white because I want everything else to stay, but I want to hide what I overdone. So I put the flow on 100 because I want it to be aggressive and bring back those colors that went overboard.
So really, this is a testament to how much control that you actually have. So without, even if I still can't get over that you don't actually affect the original picture. It's great.
Yeah, like honestly speaking, like retouching is all about control. The more you control in a picture, the better it is. And as you can see here, I was trying to fix it like that, but it didn't really work. So we're gonna go back up here on this layer right there, take our brush, and I feel the color that's. So for example, for this part right here, right? You see how the light is hitting the podium this way, and then it keeps gradually um blending into the shadow, right? So
Right.
you have sort of to guess how this part will look because before that it was all black, but because of the AI stuff, it created another shadow that we don't want, and we want to make sure that it looks like it was like that from the get-go, right?
Yeah.
So what I'll do, I'm guessing if the shadow, if this wasn't there and the shadow was actually going how it was supposed to go, I think it will look like something in that color. So you have to sort of like sometimes guess, and sometimes you have to analyze and look carefully, right? So let's try right here. The flow, I will have it on 2 or 3. Yeah, maybe a little bit too dark. For example, here you saw like it didn't work out. Let's try this one right here. Let me zoom out.
Ooh.
Like I said, I always zoom out to make sure that, that it looks good, even from far.
That is a good tip. Sometimes when we work, we just kind of keep the work right up there in front of the face. And by the time you've
Yeah.
zoomed out, it's like when you flip a picture the other way, sometimes it's like, oh, something needs to
Okay.
be tweaked.
And as you can see, I overdone it. So I'll go on this layer right here, make sure that it's black. I can't put 100 because I want to be aggressive with it.
Pax was saying, so helpful. You can really see how Mike builds these masterpieces detail by detail.
So as you can, he's right though. But as you can see from far, you would, if you take a first look at this picture, you wouldn't think like something was there or there, right?
Okay.
Okay. Then since I have, like I said, photographer friends, retoucher friends, I cannot leave anything random. So so as you can see here, there's sorry, as you can there we go. As you can see, let me take this so you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. And using on this layer here, let me put the color red. So you can see right here, there's still the texture of the shadow because like we said, we work below the texture. So the texture doesn't move. It's just the color, right?
Right.
So now we want to get rid of that. All right. So we go back to texture, stamp tool, and then we're just gonna stamp it around and ta-da. And I just noticed right here it's not properly done. And like I said, I have retoucher friends, so I'm trying to make sure that everything was good.
It's the attention to detail because
And yeah,
some of the
and the
bit
thing,
on the
I'll go ahead,
go
sorry.
go. Oh no, after you, after you.
And because the thing is like, sometimes my friends are like, bro, nobody's gonna zoom that near. But sometimes you never know. Like for example, like I work with artists that booked me, and at first it was for content, but then like the label maybe liked it, and they're like, "Yo, we actually want to like use it for a cover, or I don't know, do a billboard with it, or do merch with it." So I'm always thinking like my picture might be at one point print in big size, and when it's printed in big, that's where you can really see details and imperfections. So that's why I always pay attention to make sure that everything is clean.
So you don't miss steps, you semi-future proof it as well.
Yeah,
Also, speaking about the sizes, when you're taking your photos or when you're touching up your photos, are
yeah.
you working within the image size that you took when it was in the photo, or do you actually manipulate the image size in some way?
No, I always leave the image size how as it is.
And what image size do you prefer to work in?
Uh, I mean my image size for this picture because wait, hold on. Let me check that real quick and I can tell you right away.
Early lost
There we
EA.
go.
1 second. There we go. We got EA back. It's all good.
All right, there we go. So basically, my pictures are, if you print like real size, they really big. So that's why like I also recommend this camera. Yeah. So basically, like you won't see that in many like other brand in terms of like sizes. And I'm not talking about like the mirrorless camera. I'm talking about like the old ones.
Oh, okay.
And because it's big, of course, it's gonna take, of course, a lot of space in terms of storage. But yeah, let's get back to our Photoshop.
Thank you very
All right,
much for the diversion.
no problem. So as you can see, sometimes I do struggle to make things even. Like right now. Okay, there we go. And then blending smoothly, just like that. Uh,
So, do you tend to work with a bigger brush when you're using your stamp or your healing instead of like a smaller brush?
it depends. It depends. Let's say if I want to work in a large area in the background, as you can see here, there's like a small eclipse around the picture. I don't know if you can see it. Do you see it?
I think so.
Or do you guys can see it? Because it's not obvious, but if you really pay attention to the picture, if you really concentrate, you'll be able to see it. It's like
Hmm.
subtle. If you guys cannot see it, I'll help you guys. Hold on.
Thank you.
So basically, I don't know. Oh, shoot. Hold on. And okay. So basically, if you pay attention, you can see the lighting is different from here to approximately here.
Oh, yes.
You
Oh,
see it now.
yeah. I see it now.
Like I said, don't worry, guys, if you don't get that from the get-go. It takes practice to actually be able then to notice like different subtle type of lighting. Okay. So let's say, like you said, like if I want to use a bigger brush, right? Let's say I want to remove that, like the one on the top, as if the lighting was hitting from this side right here, right?
Right.
Because sometimes what I like to do, or sometimes what I really want to play with my pictures, I sort of try to change how the lighting was. So let's say if the lighting was hitting from here with the flash, sometimes I try to have it hitting from this angle. And how I'm doing it is by shadows and how the background is looking. So let me show you so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can. Yeah, all right.
Funny, when you dramatically change the background color, it makes it way more obvious to tell. I think what you were showing us before was the eye of a photographer.
uh I'm pretty sure everybody can do that if you really practice it. Okay.
Testament to how long you've been honing your craft, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm getting lots of Jamiroquai vibes from this. I'm showing my age a little bit, but yeah. Huh.
Sorry?
I'm feeling a lot of Jamiroquai virtual insanity vibes from this. I might be showing my age a little bit, but I'm feeling it.
All right. So, for example, here, because the background is so bright, you would think that the room was very lit, which was not really the case. So that's what I meant by I can change sometimes the ambience of the room or of the picture. And that's where I actually use a bigger brush when I want
Oh,
to use like big spaces and stuff like that. When I don't have to go really into detail over whatever area I'm trying to work on.
right. And CJ said a vignette. I see it
All right, so let's
in
go
terms
back
of
to.
the color background. Yes, Ridizzle, I agree with you.
All right, so let's go back to our eclipse. So I'm pretty sure now everybody can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So for this picture, I think, yeah, I think we're pretty cool with it. I think we're pretty all right.
That's awesome.
So
Very, very awesome.
now let me show you guys. When I mean like dodge and burn is very important. Let me show you on another picture. Because there was not that many detail on the face, but let me show you now with another picture when there's a lot of detail. So this one is a portrait. And I know a lot of you guys came here for beauty retouching. I know that for a fact. So if you guys join us right now, I explained before, the first thing that I do when I check a picture or I'm about to edit a picture is I analyze, and I'm already like checklisting what I want to remove, change, or emphasize. Let me do that real quick with you guys. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, as you can see, there's some flowing hair here, 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 all this area here, here. Lens was not really clean, so here. If we zoom on the face, and you guys can see all the detail on her skin, and it's also good so I can show you guys because she got freckles, so you can see how subtle it is when somebody got freckles. Here, 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 all that. I mean, I'm not gonna do everything because it's gonna take a minute, but you guys have the bigger picture, right?
Yes.
All right. And then this here. All right. So, like I said, we're gonna do dodge and burn. So first layer is gonna be the dodge one. And you guys will be able to see the difference when I edit in color and in black and white. Before you had it in black and white, this time it's going to be in color. So you invert the layer, you call it dodge, and go. Then you do another one, take the shadows. Yeah, that is about right.
Also, we'll consider this a nice bonus as we have 20 minutes left. So being able to see how you do it in both versions. And somebody in the chat just said, here for beauty. Yeah, I think
I
we're
know, I know,
down.
I know. All right, cool. So, sorry. So, basically, when it comes to color picture, when it comes to dodge and burn, it sounds funny, but I always go back to black and white because I'm able to see more detail in black and white. Let me explain and let me show you so it will make a little bit more sense. So here on the color lookup, basically on this one, you have the gray tone. It's a gray tone, levels. I'm gonna emphasize the black. You see how darker I go to see like as many detail as possible.
Right. It's
And
interesting.
then
It's like you seem to have the same process that I know there are some 2D artists that do everything, shading, all of that in black and white and gray first. So it's interesting to see the comparison.
then I bring the highlights just a little bit more, just like that. Create a group, and that group, we're gonna call that visual aid. There we go. So basically this layer is just to help me out. Because here, let me zoom in again so you guys can really see what I'm talking about. There's some details, but there's way more detail. Sometimes the eye is not able to see it like that. So you have to use a cheat sheet code to bring as much detail as possible, which you guys saw it before. So yeah. Now let's start with Dodge. So make sure that you have a white as a color, the brush flow on 1, and just like before, you start adding your light and removing your shadows. And as you can see, I'm only going over the really, really dark area that you see on the picture, or trying to go on the, how can I say that? On the flow of the color, if it makes sense.
Right. Okay. And even though you've got the visual aid grouped on the top, we still actually able to see the dodge that we're doing.
Yeah, because the dodge and burn is below the visual aid. If it will be above, you will not be able to see it. But because it's below, everything that's actually on top is always what you're going to see, regardless. And everything that's below is either going to be hidden if it's like a new layer with a new object on it. But if it's just like layer on top of layers, you'll always be able to see it. When it's like tool layer, like selective color or something like that.
Also, Val said, love, dodge, and burn. It starts little by little, and then we go. And then when we go before and after, we see a whole different image. It adds an amazing depth.
Exactly. You have to be patient for that. Because some people are trying to rush out the process, which was me in the beginning. And one day I was like, you know what? Let me really take my time. I don't care if it takes 5 hours for a picture, but really, let me really go in depth into this and see how far I can go with that. And then when I did that and I saw the result, I was like, oh, so that's how they be retouching. Okay. And that's been my technique ever since.
Truthfully, from what we saw from your portfolio in the beginning, you can truly see your patience is a true testament to your work. In fact, Alessandra just said, I love this picture. The color and pearls are nice. Alessandra, just wait till eye attraction has done the whole magical, like, wow, retouching right here. It's going to take it to a completely other level. But already it
So,
was gorgeous, yes.
so for example, I didn't really do much as you guys saw, but let me show you the before, after. I mean, first in color and then, first in black and white, then in color. So in black and white, it looks like this, but in color, it looks already like that. And if you don't see the difference, this was like, this is now, and this was before.
Mm.
And now let me turn it off. This was before. This is now subtle, but bit by bit, it will become cleaner and cleaner. Some people might say like, Mike, you didn't do much. It took you already like what, 5-10 minutes just to do that. So why do you have to do, like, what if you have to do like a whole face and fix everything? Well, like I said, sometimes you might spend an hour on a picture, sometimes 2 hours. I hope not, but sometimes it is what it is. And yeah, you just have to be patient. For me, I feel like if I wasn't editing while listening to music, it would be really hard. To be honest, it would be really, really hard.
I feel like by that point you would just be singing to yourself. Be like, yeah. Just a tune coming out, you'd make a song. You'd make a song while you go.
Yeah.
And Vald was saying patience and taking breaks, two things we learn the hard way.
Yep, especially taking breaks, because I'm somebody who don't really take breaks. So sometimes I have to force myself to take breaks. So yeah, I totally relate to that.
Seems like it's the creator's bane. We love to do the thing, but we forget that a part of the job is also, the break is also a part of the job. Because once you're rested, you've got that drive and maybe you've got more ideas because you were able to rest for a minute. But it's very hard though, because you're really into it. When you're into the job, you're into the work, you're into the work.
All right.
Paloma agrees with the patience and taking breaks.
Okay, let me go a little bit harder on the flow. Okay, now maybe a little too much. Let me go on.
Spain was saving the work. Yes, we've all learned about working for 10 hours and forgetting to save, losing it all and having to do it again. I think we've all been there.
Trust me, have the automatic saving mode on your Photoshop. It's a lifesaver. Trust me. I've been there editing a whole beauty picture, crashed, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to save. And I was like, oh, no, I think Photoshop like backed it up. And then I go on settings and I say it was off and I was pissed. So I had to redo like the whole picture.
Oh my goodness. Just as a note, we have about maybe 8 minutes, let's say.
All right. So you guys can see already how the face is becoming a lot more neat and cleaner, right? And we just spent like what, 15 minutes, I think, or maybe 10. That was
really quick, actually.
It's not perfectly done yet, but you guys have the idea, right? So now let's say we want to remove this. I won't even like use frequency separation for that. I'll just use a normal layer, have my stem tool, and this time, because I wanted to influence everything that's below this, I will have current and below. And simply, I will go next to the hair, have this as a source, and then just go along. That's simple.
Is that crazy. The same thing that you do when you're doing the arm as well?
Sorry?
So I know there were some flyaways on her arm. Is that the kind of thing, is this the same technique you'll do on her arm too?
You mean on this part right here?
Yeah.
A mix of both. Ooh. A mix of what I'm doing right now and frequency separation. Ooh. To make sure, because right now, like, it's not really visible because it's a backdrop and it's dark, but I'm actually like moving pixels and texture, but not really the way that I'm doing with frequency separation. So here, if I do it too much, I might actually mess up the background, how it will look.
Like we saw
Um,
before, there's actually kind of gradients going on. It's not just one flat color.
yeah. Okay, so I'm doing this real quick.
Thank you. I'm
So
sorry to make you rush a little bit because you were literally
nah,
just
it's all
talking about the
good.
patients.
It's all good. It's all good. I just want to make sure that you guys get as many and as much information as you can while we're here. Because when I started, I wish I had somebody or something that was doing that because it was hard for me to find like proper photographers giving the real trick. Because every time like most of the time people like when they give courses or classes, they give you the basics, but they don't give you their personal tip. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there are shortcuts or what they actually do. They usually tell you, hey, I use this technique, I did this, that, but they don't really go into depth. And it was hard for me in the beginning to really like find somebody that will do that. Oh, quick parenthesis. As you can see, I jumped into the fighting tool and I merged the layer before because I want to actually fix the hair shape. And like I said, if it's not really proper slick back, it's probably not gonna have the shape of your head. So it's normal if there's bumps and places that it doesn't really align with the rest of the head shape, if I can call it like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied like this. Let me just double check. As you see, I didn't really do much. Just push a little bit on top and on the side.
Again,
All
it's
right.
this slight that you're doing that really, really, it just puts the whole thing together.
Yeah.
And
And
also,
then
Pax just asked your favorite music while editing.
PAX. That's actually like my family right there. But
Oh, is it? Ah,
yeah, that's my family right there. Uh I mean it depends on the mode. It depends on the mood. It depends on the mood. If it's a late night editing, I mean if it's a really late night, which I call late night editing, I have actually a playlist called late night editing. And it's more
okay.
like um I would say like neo soul type of music or
Uh-huh.
like neo pop. I don't even know how to call that. Neo lounge, like
Ooh,
something that makes you sort of like travel, make you like music that makes you float. You know what I mean?
I like that. I like the description.
Um, for example, like an artist that's super great at this. Um, I'm not sure how to say her name. I think her name is Cleo Soul, or something like that.
Uh,
She's really great. Her type of music is the type of music I will use for late night editing. But if I have to edit during the day, honestly speaking, sometimes I need to turn up. So,
okay.
so I would just use some like hype music, like Mick Mill. I have different type of moods for editing, so it really depends on that.
Thank you. And Pax says, thanks for teaching your ways.
And he's a great artist, to be honest. He does like his 3D stuff is really crazy.
Oh,
Okay, so
Paloma knows who you're talking about. Love Cleo Soul. Oh, hold on. Now that I see the name written down, I know this person. I've listened to the
yeah,
songs. Let's say we've got
you got a
about
good
two.
ear. If you know that person, you got a good ear.
Paloma. Let's say we've got about 2 minutes left. How would we close this up?
We're gonna close this up uh in about when I'll be done with her forehead.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's gonna be in 2 minutes.
Let's do it.
So as you can see, there's still much detail compared to the previous picture that we had, right? So we have to increase the number. I feel like yeah, okay, let's go for 420. There we go. Same thing. Image, apply image. Copy three.
This is for those that have hopped in a way to, again, slightly tweak the imperfections.
All right. Um, so for example, right, this is how sharp this camera is, just so you guys realize, right? I can see if you have a bug in your eyelashes, I will be able to see it. All right.
Okay.
Anyway, that's how clear this camera is. Um, well, you see, reflex. I was trying to like remove this hair, right? And I didn't check, and it's on current and below. So that's why I give this weird dot right there. So make sure that it's on current layer and not current and below, and then you can work your magic. So that's the technique that I use to edit lashes, because sometimes lashes they just don't want to cooperate, right? So sometimes you just have to fix it. And for that, as you can see, when it comes to texture, because most of it, let me zoom on it so you can really see what I'm talking about. All this like pixels is what we call that's what we call texture, right?
Right.
And oh, okay.
Ooh, all righty. Well, I think we've learned a whole lot today. EA, thank you so much for joining us. We've learned so many things from you. I hope you've enjoyed joining us today and teaching us your ways.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I hope you guys understood everything that I said. And if not, please rewatch again this video as much as you need to. And something that I do too is if you find my Instagram, you can always DM me asking questions. I always reply when I get the time.
Things should be somewhere in our description down below. But for those of us that are still here, stay tuned because we do have an Adobe Firefly Live Weekly coming up next on some more retouching of old photos. So thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned.